The problem I irrefutably have with the idea that I had of doing audiobooks of my own stuff is that I am a freaking coward. I don't feel comfortable reading out my stuff, largely because I either think it's not good enough or there's a certain touch of arrogance that I feel when I think, oh yeah, this is good enough. And frankly, who the fuck am I to judge? I wrote it. I technically shouldn't have an opinion? Question mark? I actually have no idea. There are plenty of things that I want to read out, but when it comes right down to it, every time I look at them, I'm just thinking, nah, not this one. And then I go on to the next one and think the exact same thing. This problem partly stems from the fact that on my DeviantArt account, primarily for my writing, is that I am going back to the very beginning to upload all my stuff, which means going back like 10 years. And my writing 10 years ago wasn't that good. The thing is, I want to put everything out because I want to give like a wide scope of stuff that I've worked on. But that also, brings out the trouble of the fact that I can't remember what I was going to say. Trouble with the fact that... Cycle back your thoughts, you moron. What were you going to say? Nope, it's gone. Let me try and think of something else that is relevant. No, I have absolutely no idea what I was going to... Well, I sort of have a vague idea, but I'm not sure how to phrase it. It's a case of... all this stuff, it's not great, but the wide scope that I want to show is sort of a development process, so people can sort of start with my not great stuff so I can build up to my good stuff, but I'm not sure if that's actually a very good technique now that I'm putting it into words. That sounds like a terrible idea, but some of the things have got some good attention. I mean, nobody's come right out and said this isn't very good, but then I can't even get people to come out and give me a decent critique most of the time. My friends, I love you guys, but you suck. You still haven't read the book that I wrote when I was 18, which I actually finished. Or if you have read it, you haven't told me, which kind of defeats the purpose in some senses. And I have an issue, a sort of competitive streak between myself and my dad, because my dad has written a book in like the last year, and he says I inspired him to do it, which is lovely, except for the fact that he managed to write a book in 1 year, whereas I managed to write maybe 1.5 in 12 years. It is rather humbling. Maybe humbling is not the word. I think harrowing is more accurate, considering I kind of suck. I love writing, but in terms of endurance, much like with everything else in my life, and especially video games, I suck at endurance tests. I don't know how to stick at something. I have the shortest attention span of anybody I know. Not that that's saying much, because I don't know many people. But you get my point. And I'm looking at my gallery just now, and there's quite a few things here. But some of them I was a bit dubious about uploading as I uploaded them. I mean, I wrote a story a couple of years back, which was essentially a tragedy in which 3 best friends, 2 guys and a girl, one of the girl was married to one of them, and then ended up having an accidental drunken night of fun with the one she wasn't married to, and that kind of destroyed their entire friendship, broke down all the trust that they had. Largely it was her own fault, not that she slept with him, but that she regretted it so badly she put far too much stock in the fact that it happened, and she almost orchestrated the destruction of the marriage by letting it fester, basically, even though she had no intention of repeating the circumstance. And I didn't finish writing that story because I didn't enjoy writing it. It was depressing. I mean, I'll tell you this, if I'd finished it, they would have all died in the end. That's what it was called, dominoes, one after the other. It wasn't a nice story, and I didn't finish it, but I uploaded the 12 chapters that I had, and it does sort of come to a nice round point, to the point where it could be sort of an open ending. Sort of. I haven't had any feedback. Ugh. No feedback. Rubbish. but I don't know how to get people to give feedback. I don't know how to appropriately ask. But then I don't even know how to politely ask people for books back that I've lent out to people, like a year ago. I lent somebody a book a year ago. And I asked 6 months ago, I was like, how are you getting on with it? Probably not like that. Probably a bit more direct and a little bit less, considerate. And she didn't appreciate it very much. So it gave me a look like, it's only been 6 months and it's a giant book. It was a giant book. So I'm not good at asking people for things. I'm not good at speaking generally. Yeah. Which is another reason why this audiobook idea sucks. I suck at talking. I mean, you've heard me talk. I go on tangents, I ramble, I forget what I'm talking about, and leave dead silences for at least 20 seconds. Granted, that one I did actually have the foresight to edit out in post. So, but my point still stands. I suck at reading out loud, or talking out loud. I just, nah. So yeah. The thing is, I don't want to be judged by my speaking. That was a problem I had with a book I read, which I did do a thing on, a little review, well, in impressions, essentially, on this book called The Brilliant and Forever, which was... It was about a writing competition, and essentially everybody would come up on stage and read what they'd written. They'd read it out loud. Which, to me, doesn't... That's not really what writing is. Writing is an act separate from reading aloud. I mean, talking. Reading is... Oh, there's too many bloody words. Writing is a thing to be read, not said out loud. That's what I feel like. I mean, yes, there are some people who prefer audiobooks to reading, as I've already said, but I feel like that's what writing is to me. I don't like audiobooks personally. I don't have any. I've never listened to one. I've never had any interest in listening to any. So I feel almost hypocritical in having to do it myself. I suppose if I want to get anywhere, you have to make certain decisions that you don't entirely agree with. But it's just... I have this uncanny habit of blowing things out of proportion. Much like the characters in my books do. It's, well, I write them, so I suppose they are, in essence, partly based on me. Some of them not. For example, I would never be the girl in Dominoes, because I fucking hate adultery. Or maybe I would be the girl in Dominoes, because she didn't deliberately do it. She was blind drunk at the time, and she hated herself afterwards, and in actually the first chapter, so it's not a spoiler, she technically killed herself. So yes, maybe I am like her. And I think if I cheated on someone I loved very, very much, I would probably kill myself too. Which is depressing. Let's move away from that. So I have a couple of short stories I could read out, but one of them is literally a really bizarre, sort of really short, nonsensical, technically a Doctor Who fanfiction based very loosely on a 30 Seconds to Mars song, without actually making any references to either of these things at all, except in my own head and in the title, in that I called it 100 Suns, just to be, edgy or whatever. So I could read that, but it seems more like what you'd read on the back of a book, like a blurb. You know how sometimes you read on the back of the book, it's actually got a passage from the actual novel out of context? I feel like it's sort of like that. It's sort of like half a story. So I'm not sure that it counts, and I can't be bothered developing it because I wrote it. It says 2016 down there, but that's not right. I'm going to change that. I wrote it in 2009. I wrote it 10 years ago. That actually means I've got backlog here from 11 years, which is not great, because I started writing my own fiction, not fan fiction, in 2008. Well, I say that, but I literally just said that this story I'm talking about is technically fan fiction, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Someone described it as very poignant, which is very nice, but I don't want to read it out. I mean, technically speaking, reading it, just looking at it now, it's so short I probably could read it out, just not in this video, because it wouldn't make any sense to be on a diatribe about how I don't want to read something out, and then I read it out in the same video. That seems a tad too ironic. Oh, okay. There are a few things I want to talk about, but I've just been like cycling them around in my head, wondering how I'm meant to talk about them. Even though that's never really bothered me before, I just pick up my phone, hit the record button, and talk for 20 minutes. Usually less. Maybe 15 minutes. Something like that. And I really hope this is recording, because sometimes it doesn't. Wake up. It's recording. Good. Fuck, it's cold in here. And some of the things I've posted don't even... I don't know. Excuse me. See, I've done some reviews of things. I did like a little piece on Joy Division, a rather angry sentence about one of the Sherlock episodes, and something about SSGB, thing about Germany that I wrote for Learning Shop, and a review of that film Passengers, which I wrote for Learning Shop, and I did not like Passengers. It was super beautiful, and the music was gorgeous, and Lawrence Fishburne and Michael Sheen were fucking great. I just didn't give a shit about the two main characters. That's essentially a summary of my review. If you want to read it, go ahead, it's there. I might read that out sometime, but I don't actually like being particularly overt in negative things, largely because that entices people to disagree with me, and it's not that I don't like disagreement, it's just that I don't know how to argue my own side of a point, because I get all flustered and confused, and I forget things, because I don't deal well with stress, which, you know, people combating me tends to fall under the category of. So yeah. So if you do have like 5-10 minutes to spare, I am going to post the links to some of these things that I've talked about in the info. You are under no obligation to read any of them, but if you have even the remotest interest, it would be nice if you could read them. You don't even have to leave a comment, but that would be nice too, just so you know, that would be nice. But yeah, most of my short stories were meant to be like the first chapters of stories that I just never got to the second chapter of. Yeah, there's a couple here. And the thing is, I've actually missed days of uploading things. I try and upload one thing a day, but it's been like 5 days since I last uploaded anything. I've just been fucking tired. I don't even know why. I mean, I've had a lot going on, I guess. More than usual, but to be honest, I think I forget what normal life is actually like. I've gotten so used to just sitting at home at my desk watching YouTube videos and going to work occasionally. So when I've actually got something on every day, that's not as hectic as I might think. That's actually pretty normal by most people's standards. By normal standards, by worldly standards, that's what people do. They go out and do things every day. But no, me, I sit at home and I watch YouTube videos. I'm giving you the thumbs up even though you can't see me. Okay. So yeah, I think I need to start writing lists again about things I do want to talk about. So I do want to talk about gaming in a bit more in depth. But not here, because this video could go on forever if I just go on those sorts of tangents. And I'm gonna let you know now that at some point in the future, maybe I will be talking about my faith a little bit. That's not to say that I'm gonna get all preachy or weird or try and convert you, because I'm not into that. I don't like forcing people to do things they don't want to do, because I don't want people to force me to do things I don't want to do. It sort of goes both ways. It does harken back to the do unto others as you would want done unto you, or something like that. I forget the direct quote, but yeah. So I just want to like get something off my chest. That will happen occasionally. You are no under obligation to listen to me rant about my faith or my religion or anything like that, but I'm just letting you know now that it is something I would like to be talking about maybe in the future at some point, but now that I've mentioned it, probably not, because that's just how I roll. So yeah. And so I guess this is just sort of an update video as to why I've not been talking. Or putting out videos, rather. I've been talking just a lot, just not with the video recorder on. It happens. And I know I mentioned my ghost story. It's going to take me a while to get to that, because I wrote that... It would have been 2 years ago now, but that's actually fairly recent by my standards. And I keep saying that phrase, my standards. But yeah, see... I'm just going down a list of stories that I sort of started before getting to the big stuff. So the big stuff's pretty important. At least to me, and I don't want it to get sort of bogged down with all the crappy stuff, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, maybe not, I don't know. Hopefully. What did I just do? Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm sorting out my random folder just now. So I have posted a few of these. So far I have posted 5 stories, some of which are chaptered, some of which are not. I've actually started posting one ghost story, which I didn't finish, and I'm actually really sad about that, because I really like the way it started. And I'll link you that one too. And also the site, I did kind of steal it, in that it's sort of based around the same sort of concept, but not completely directly. You might reckon, some of you might recognize it, some of you might not. I think it was a TV movie that came out like 15 years ago. It was weird and quite scary, whereas this is not. This is actually quite a tame ghost story by some standards. But yes. Man, I've written a lot of crap over the years, and believe me, the stuff I'm looking at in this folder is barely even the half of it. Say, I've got a folder called Other with a bunch of things in it, and a folder called Pieces with a bunch of things in it, which I have also published. I've published all 3 of those. No. Yeah, Pieces I think was meant to be like non-fiction stuff, but the chances of me ever actually going non-fiction full time is very unlikely. I just don't like it. I just don't like writing non-fiction. In many a selfish way, I feel like it's too much work. Like, you have to like do a lot of research and like find bibliography and post links to sources, and I much prefer just to make shit up. So there you go. Oh, and I have a poetry folder. Oh wow, I actually chaptered this one. There was this other story that I started writing, which I was like really into, and it was sort of set in the 70s, and it was about a couple of lowlifes who find love in this horrible world, and it's like really, I really loved that story. I essentially lived in it. It was sort of my place to go when I was depressed. Oh, and then there's all this shit. I once had a story universe, like set in like the future, like I'm never gonna write that one. That was set in 1939. I don't know anything about 1939. But yeah, this storyline goes from all the way up to 2406 in years. Oh no, 2420. I forgot I was gonna write a futuristic detective series that was sort of based around what do you call it? NCIS. I was really into NCIS at the time, so sort of like that. I have so much crap, and then I wrote a couple of scripts, which I will not be posting because I just won't. I don't want to write for TV ever again. That was a nightmare. And then there's the story I'm working on now, which I love so much I don't want to let it go. And honestly, my writing is connected to my faith in many ways. And now that I understand it better, I think this... No, don't like jinxing things. This, as well as being a religious, I'm also thoroughly superstitious. So, there's that. But yeah, I've got a bunch of stories to post, and maybe one day I'll have the courage and self-confidence to actually do audiobooks like I said I would. I know I've already done the Ballad of Betty Black, and to be honest, I don't know what I was on that helped me do that, but I'm glad I did. That was a good one. Someone actually offered to make it into a song, which is pretty cool, but I don't know how that would work. And I've had bad experiences of handing off things I've copyrighted works to other people for various purposes in the past, so I've had bad experiences with that. That's not to say I don't trust you. I suppose it's to say that I don't distrust you, which doesn't help clarify anything. Ugh, I really know how to make a mess of things, don't I? Anyway, maybe, you know what, dude, whoever it was that asked, I'm actually going to go check now because it was a while since they said it. If you want to turn the Ballad of Betty Black into a song of some kind, I suppose you can do it. But as long as you credit me appropriately, and you put the link to both the video of the Ballad of Betty Black when I'm reading it out, and to the poem itself on my DeviantArt channel, then it should be fine. I think for now, if you do it, can you leave it unmonetized? Just to see how people respond, maybe? I don't know if I actually have any right to ask you to leave it unmonetized. But I'm just naturally cautious, I suppose is the word. What are you doing, Beta Studio? Stop being weird. Stop it. I'm clicking on you. It's not letting me go to my video. Thanks for my feedback. Fuck you. What are you doing? Give me my video. Thank you. Okay. I actually hate YouTube Beta. It doesn't fucking work properly. No. No, shut up. Gory Rory. Debatable musical skill, yes. You may work it into a song. It may well be a bit of fun. So yeah, I give you my blessing for that. You are welcome to give it a try. Just maybe send me the base file first before uploading it, maybe. I don't know. I honestly have no idea how these things work. Not a clue. Please don't take advantage of me and my naivety. I'm not making that into a poem. Oh, it's fucking cold. Okay, you know what? I think I've talked long enough about my insecurities and stupidities and whatever, and it's really fucking cold, so I'm gonna go get a hot drink. Oh, I already had one, and there's like one mouthful left, and it's probably cold. Yeah, that's cold. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening to me ramble for how long? 20 minutes! Darn! It's my longest one yet. Okay. Bye.